Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Mom's Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode number 195. I'm Emily McDermott, and I'm here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. When I say Supermom, what do you think? Do you think of that elusive unicorn mom that has it all together? Do you think of somebody that is finding true balance in her life? Do you feel like it's something that's completely unattainable? I'm sure it brings out a lot of different things. And today I'm really excited to be talking to Lori Oberbreckling because in her book, Secrets of Supermom, How Extraordinary Moms Succeed at Work and Home and How You Can Too, she shares 16 amazing secrets of supermoms. And we're speaking about some of my favorite secrets, including what does balance look like? How can we combat the culture of complaint among moms? How can we focus on energy boosters rather than blocks and bleeds? What true rest is, and how to plan for the unexpected, because everything is always unexpected. And we also talk about the Supermom Summer Camp, which starts this Monday, June 16th until June 20th. I am a camp counselor. I am bringing the virtual s'mores, and I'll be there with 40 other amazing women I'll be talking about decluttering, and other counselors are going to be talking about productivity, balance, and much more. So make sure you check out the show notes for information on how to get your free ticket. And let me finally tell you a little bit more about Lori. She's a mom to 4, ages 8 to 15. She's a corporate leader and trainer, podcaster, productivity expert, and the author of the book I mentioned, Secrets of Supermom, How Extraordinary Moms Succeed at Work and Home and How You Can Too. And she's passionate about helping parents who want fulfilling careers or side hustles or passion projects while also wanting to feel present and connected to their families. I know that you're really going to enjoy this conversation with Lori, and I hope that you can join us for the Supermom Summer Camp. We're going to have a lot of fun. So without further ado, grab that notebook and pen, and let's dive into today's conversation with Lori Oberbreckling. Hey Mama, are you tired of your cluttered home and mile-long to-do lists but are too overwhelmed to know where to start? Do you lack the time and motivation and don't think you'll ever conquer the clutter? You're in the right place. I'm Emily, wife, boy mom, and declutter coach who has overcome the overwhelm in my own life through decluttering and simplifying. I believe every mom deserves the peace that comes from a clutter-free home. Ready to get your life back? Let's declutter your home, head, and heart together. Well, hey, Lori, welcome to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast. I am thrilled to talk to you today.
I am so excited for this conversation.
Yeah, we connected via this amazing Supermom summer camp, which we're going to tell everyone about at the end. But I was like, definitely need to have Lori on the show. And then I was looking in your email signature and found out, oh my gosh, she has this amazing book, Secrets of Supermom. And I read it, and our brains work very similarly, like as far as like the organization of the book and the tactical guidance and the mindset and all of this stuff. And I thought, oh my gosh, we need to talk about all the things on the show. So thank you so much for being here. I would love it if you could tell us about you and your family, how you serve women, and then maybe like one thing you like to do for fun.
Love it. Yes, super excited to talk about the book. It's so fun to talk about all the tactics. And I love it when we say, yes, our brains think the same, right? Because then we know we're going to have an amazing conversation. But so about me, I am wife to Jeremy. I am mom to Kinley, Caden, Cameron, and Kellen. And so I have 4. I have 2 boys and 2 girls. My oldest is 15 and my youngest is now 8. And I wrote the book obviously when they were littler, so I published it just over 4 years ago, and I'm super excited to get to dive into more pieces of it today. I love talking about the secrets. I love talking about all the things inside. But what do I love to do for fun? So, well, I love to do this for fun. I love to do the Supermom stuff, right? I think that's absolutely fun. But I also do photography on the side, so I love to take photos, and I used to love to scrapbook. I'm not so good at spending the time on it now, but I do still love the concept, right? I still love to do it. I just do it a lot less. And I actually love a whole lot of things. I love to read. I love to hang out with my kids. We get to do a staycation this weekend. I love staycations. So all sorts of fun stuff I love. Yeah, that's all about me.
Yeah. And I can sort of take a photo with an iPhone, maybe,
Yeah.
but I love people that have that artistic eye because I am more on the word side. So I write poetry and that's kind of my creative outlet. And again, it depends on the season, like how much I'm doing it or not doing it. But again, one of the things you talk about in the book is what we talk about here a lot is sort of making that space and being
Mm,
able to have that true rest and knowing what that is for you. And it's okay if it's not like you're able to get to it as much in certain seasons, but just kind of having an understanding of what fills your cup like actually.
yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself because I get so excited. Uh,
So excited.
okay, so we're gonna start with like one of the very cliche concepts in mom life, which is this idea of work-life balance. Can we have it? Does it exist? Is it an enigma? You know? And I feel like everyone reads about it or talks about it, and it's a very kind of like hot topic, kind of like self-care is, and yet the cliche concept of it is sometimes like this watered down, not actually what we want to be talking about. So
Yeah.
I would love it if you could describe to us, just in your years of experience as a mom and helping moms, what true balance actually is and how you've been able to implement it. I mean, not an easy question, I know, but we're just going to go right for it at the
We're gonna
beginning.
go right for it. So is like the version of balance that you hear about possible? No. To spend the exact same hours doing certain things? No. And even if you did, would that feel like balance? I would challenge that no, it wouldn't. Even if I spent the exact same hours today working in my corporate job and working my business and hanging out with my family, and I called that balance, it probably wouldn't feel right. Right? On any given day, at any given moment, I am probably not in balance. But if I can take a big step back and see my life from a further away lens, I can then tell if I'm balanced or not, because then I can see what it feels like. When I'm looking at the whole last week or the whole last month, I can say, yeah, that felt really good. We had a lot of fun times with the family. And I also got some really awesome work projects done. And I also feel really good about where my business is going. And I also love my friends and my family, and I get to spend time with them. And if I have all of that, my life feels balanced, even if the same amount of time wasn't spent doing those things. And so for me, it's really about that step back. Does it feel like I have the balance that I want? And if it doesn't feel like balance, then it's not balance, even if the scale is all wild, right? And if it does feel like balance, even if the scale is all wild, then it's balance, right? Then it feels good. And so it's different for all of us. If we had a scale that could weigh everything, right? So imagine like there's like a center mark and there's a scale that there's things all the way around it, right? Like all these different pegs. All of us would have different amounts in each of those things, probably every single month, but it might still feel balanced for me. Yet if you took mine, you would go, that's not balance at all. I don't feel I didn't get enough time resting or doing things I love. I didn't get enough time with my partner. I didn't get enough time working on my business, right? I didn't get enough time podcasting or doing other things that I love. And so we all have to figure that out for ourselves. And I love planning and doing all these strategic things because it lets me review those and get better at feeling the way I want to feel.
Yeah, and also I feel like there's a seasonality to it
Mm,
that you have to recognize the season that you're in. So we're, recording this in May, and this concept of Maycember I heard about, within the
yeah.
last couple of years. And there is a truth to it, but I looked at my May and I had planned it out and I actually looked and I took that step back instead of kind of being, and we're going to talk about the culture of complaint, which this kind of
Yeah.
like goes into a little bit, but I could be like the, oh my gosh, it's December and there's so much going on and what am I going to do? And I actually step back and I look and I planned out my May and I'm like, you know what? My May looks pretty good. Like it
Yeah.
looks pretty balanced. I'm not feeling stressed about it. But a lot of times we kind of just get caught up in sort of like the culture of whatever the moms are saying around us. And then we end up feeling probably less balanced and more overwhelmed than we would if we were just like, you know what? Let me just take the step back, look at my planner, look at what I've done, look at what I can tweak, and have just a more like sane approach
Yeah,
to it
it's so
all.
true. Yeah, when you look at yours, you go, this is totally possible, right? Same for me. We have some things that are ending at the very beginning of May. Some like family activities and kid activities that end way early, way before even school ends. And so for us, we're already starting to eliminate some of the things as we go into the change in the summer schedule. So same, I do not feel like May is going to cripple us as a family. But yes, I think a lot of people do feel that way. And, I get, yeah, you've got end of school projects, maybe you've got recitals and tournaments and all those things too, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. And if it looks overwhelming, we get to decide that we're going to do things differently. We get to decide what we're going to pull back on. We get to decide what maybe we're going to move into June or we're going to move into September if you want to. We get to decide.
Yeah, and coming from that place of choice rather than the victim mentality is incredibly important. And you share 16 secrets in the book. We're not going to get into all 16 here, although that would be fun. Might take a couple more minutes than my overwhelm moms are used to on the show.
Right.
But when I read the section about culture of complaint, it really resonated with me. And the
Yeah.
reason is that I'm trying in my neighborhood. We have a lot of moms with kids similar ages and trying to do this like monthly mom's night out, right? So we walk up to the local Mexican place and we have our margaritas and chips and whatever. And what does the topic of conversation immediately go to? Our kids, our husbands. What is not going well?
Yeah.
99% of the time. And we're not talking about our dreams. We're not talking about like anything necessarily positive. And when I read that in your book, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so true. And
Yeah.
I would just love it if you could tell us, like, this is not a neutral thing. It impacts our mindset, it impacts our health. And I would just love it if you could talk to us about how many we can maybe shift the mindset for ourselves, but then be kind of that more positive impact in our mom friend group so that we're not all like, oh my gosh, Maycember and my husband and my kids. And it just becomes a complaint session every time we hang out, something that's supposed to be filling our cups,
That's
but
right.
we're actually taking away from it.
Yeah, yeah. So the culture of complaint, I've used this term for a really long time, and I've used it at work a lot, right? Because you can have in a corporate environment, right, with lots of people that are on teams, we can have a situation where all that team is doing is complaining, and I call complaint all problem, no solution, right? So all problem, no solution means I'm not just venting. Sometimes we need to get emotion out before we can come up with solutions, and that's okay if we're doing it intentionally. If we're going, I just need to vent here for a minute, right? And then I spill all the things to Emily and I say, let me tell you all the terrible things. And then I say, okay, now I'm all done. I'm all done with my emotion drop. Now I'm ready for a solution. I'm ready to make this better. I'm not just all problem, no solution, just talking about what's wrong without any intent to change it. And when I'm in the culture of complaint, it drags not only me down emotionally, right? Where I'm feeling all problem and I'm not feeling like there's a solution. Things feel very out of my control, but I'm also projecting that onto all the people around me. So my team feels like we have no solution and everything's out of control. My family feels like it's all problem and no solution. My friends feel like it's all problem and no solution. And so I found that as I started to apply this in all these other areas, friend groups included, I would walk away. If I walked away from a work meeting and it was all problem, no solution, it was the culture of complaint, I was exhausted by that meeting. And I found myself during certain mom group meetings, certain mom group outings, that I was feeling more exhausted afterward than I was when I went into it. And like you said, the whole point was that I was supposed to be feeling full, right? Energized, excited, happy to have people in my life that love me. And not that they didn't love me still, but I sure felt drained after those outings. And so I went, okay, we cannot keep doing this, or this is just going to drain all of us.
Yeah, and just being able to kind of have that awareness and then also the courage that in the case of work or friend groups or whatever it is, that we can try to shift things using that language. That intentionally is, oh, I just really want to vent about this. So what do you guys think? Like, what can I actually do about it? And having that solution-based language. But it's also okay to just, you might have to just not hang out with those people anymore. And I feel like as women, and, I'm in my almost mid 40s, and it seems like it's continually harder and harder to like make actual friends. So then it's like you don't want to let go of people necessarily, but then if it's just this constant complaint fest, then it is something you have to really look at. Do I feel energized after these interactions, or do I feel drained? And if I constantly feel drained, then how am I going to better use my precious time and energy for something that is actually energizing and sustaining and fulfilling rather than that?
That's right. That's exactly right. And we can try to change the direction of conversation,
Mhm.
right? We can say, "Oh, that sounds tough," right? Like, what do you think you're going to do, right? Like, we can switch it into those solutions. I can do that at work, right? I can say, "Okay, vent session's over. Let's talk about how we're going to fix this. Let's talk about what we can do as a team," right? I can do those things, but you're right. Sometimes that doesn't it spins right back
Yeah.
into the complaining. And if it does, then you're right. We may have to decide I'm not going to go every month to this activity, right? Maybe I'm only going to go every other month, or maybe I'm not going to go anymore at all. Or, right, we get to decide, and we get to decide our energy is precious. I don't talk about this in the book, but I talk about energy bleeds, energy blocks, and energy boosts, and how energy boosts are so important, and how energy bleeds can be so draining. And so we have to, if we identify those, for me, total energy bleed. A mom's night that is culture of complaint is a full on energy bleed for me. It's not doing anything to help me feel better, and it often is making me feel worse. And so if that's going to be the way that it is, I'm probably going to step back from those things because I want to use my time to boost my energy.
Yeah.
I want to feel good about the things that I'm doing. I know we're going to talk about rest because that's
Right.
in the book too, and rest is an energy boost. It should be an energy boost. I should walk away from whatever I call rest and feel great, right?
Yeah.
And if that's not how I feel after a mom's night, then that's not rest, and I get to choose not to do it.
Yeah. I love that, again, that empowering place of choice. And that when we talk about rest, we'll dive right into that. And people are like, oh, we should just, rest more. And we'll be kind of like, oh, yeah, well, that really must be nice for so and so because I mean, look at all the stuff I have to do and look at my schedule and look at the kids. But then when we do have some of these moments to ourselves, then we're immediately picking up the phone and scrolling, which is not restful at all. And I did that for a season when I was dealing with a lot of hormonal, emotional issues where I was very reactive to my kids. And before I got that sorted out on the health side, it was like escape. I was like, I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to escape. So, like, I get it and no judgment, but I didn't realize that that's actually causing higher, cortisol. And you have like all of these things that are happening when you have that dopamine
Yeah.
hit, and that's not actual rest. So can you tell us about what is true rest and why is it so important as we're able to combat fatigue and burnout and overwhelm and all of these things that we're dealing with?
Yeah. To me, true rest, I would define as an energy boost. So if I can walk away from something feeling more energy, mental energy, physical energy, or emotional energy, any of those, if I can walk away from that thing feeling better than I did before, it's true rest. So when we think rest, like a lot of us will think like, oh, I'm vegging on the couch, right? Like that's actual rest. Vegging on the couch for me, no, I do not feel energized after that. That does not make me feel better. So that's not actually rest for me. Now, if that is true for you, if you love your shows and you feel so good after you get to take a couple of hours on a weekend to do, a binge watch and you feel amazing afterwards, that's rest for you. Amazing. Keep doing that. But Emily, what you're talking about was the scroll, right? Like the doom scroll, the escape scroll. And so often we feel worse mentally, emotionally, or physically after that than we do better. And rest can also be active things, right? Like rest for me is certainly taking walks. Rest for me is doing a hard workout, even because physically I feel that energy boost afterward, even though I know it's hard and even though it's not what most people I think would call, quote, rest. So if I can define it as that, then there are lots of things that we can think of, and they're always different. They're different for all of us because all of us are react emotionally, physically, mentally differently to different things. So me going and taking photos might be a total energy boost, right? If I go do a photo session and come back and I'm doing editing and everyone looks adorable and I'm all excited about it, right? Energy boost. But then maybe you are going, this is so stressful. Every photo doesn't look right. Like I wish I was writing a poem about these people instead of taking a picture of them. And so that's not an energy boost. And that's okay. We get to find those boosts and use them for rest so that we can plan for them every week and we can keep our energy high all the time. If I get to constantly fill my life with things that are replacing my energy and making it higher, how amazing am I going to feel all the time?
Yeah. And you bring up a great point, being able to proactively plan for rest, which I don't think people think about very often. And I recently interviewed, her name's Rochelle Crawford, and she wrote a book about how to be busy. And she talks about bubble wrapping your seasons to know that, like, this is going to be maybe a season where things are going to be a little more stressful. So I'm going to bubble wrap it with rest because I know that this is happening. And to have that proactive approach is so important. And one of the things that was very much an aha for me in your book was about planning in advance to deal with difficult situations because we know that they're coming at some point. And so this podcast is for moms who are overwhelmed. And a lot of times we feel maybe blindsided by it, like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I wasn't expecting, and this just totally kind of went off the rails. However, a lot of times we can anticipate those difficult situations, and then we can move through the challenges with more awareness. But I would love it if you could talk about kind of like tactically, like how would we do that when we're in these more of like planning sessions? We're looking at our next month or so. We know the things are coming up. We feel like we can probably handle them pretty well, but how can we anticipate and plan for plan B, I guess, for
Yeah.
things when it doesn't work as planned?
That's right. We plan for, so we call it in our society when we do our weekly planning, we call it buffer time. So we purposely plan blocks of time either every day or in a chunk of time that's just sort of open. It doesn't have a spot to fill, but it's meant to be overflow time. So it's meant to be if something goes crazy today, or if this project takes me longer than I expected, or if a kid comes home sick, or if I get sick, or if we get a flat tire, right? Any of those things happen that we've basically got wiggle room in our plan. Instead of planning every second and crossing our fingers that everything goes perfectly. Because women have asked me when I've done interviews before, women have asked me, okay, you weekly plan. How often does your weekly plan like go to plan? So I think they're expecting I'm going to say like, I don't know, 50%, 75% goes to plan. Literally 0%, friends. 0% of the time do I follow the exact plan every week. But guess what? Because I have a plan, I know where the shifts are needed. Because I have a plan with buffer time, I know how I can move things around and I don't get that blind side that Emily's talking about. I don't get totally crushed. I'm not in the scramble, is another thing I call it, right? I'm not in the scramble. I just go, okay, this is happening. Here's what I had in this block. I get to move it or I get to reschedule it till a later week. And it's no big deal. And it doesn't put me down and make me go, oh, look at me. I failed again because this didn't go right. I failed again because our project didn't turn out the way I thought it would. I am already expecting things to not be perfect. And so I can go into it saying, it's no problem. I've got this. I've rescheduled this before and it's no problem. I've had a sick kid before and I got this. I've had to have a flat tire on the way to work before and I've got a Teams meeting on my mobile. It's no problem, right? I just start to train myself so that I don't get spun out over all the things.
Yeah, and one of the things that I am continue to learn as a mom, and I think just as a woman and business owner and all the different hats, is to approach things with curiosity rather than getting bent out of shape about it. Because I am a recovering perfectionist. And I know that's another cliche term, but it's something that I'm genuinely working on because I'm seeing a lot of those tendencies in my older son,
Mm.
which is scaring me quite a bit. And I'm like, no. So trying to prevent that. So when something doesn't go for plan for him or for me, I try to have that, huh? that's interesting kind of approach. Like, I wonder why that was. Okay. Well, that means next time maybe we can try this instead of like, oh my gosh, the world is ending, and then you catastrophize everything. And that has really helped with my stress levels. That has really helped me. Like you said, you kind of have this list of things that you have been able to overcome in previous seasons. And you're like, oh, well, last time I tried that. Huh, let me try it this way this time. And maybe it's not going to work out because the situation is slightly different. However, you have that toolbox to pull from, and you again are going into that mindset of choice. Right now, this is what's happening. I'm not going to be a victim to the situation. I'm going to go in my toolbox. I'm going to pull out this thing. Huh, that's interesting. Let me try this. And then you're going to see whether it works or not. And that's just data that I would say, data over drama, right? And
Yeah.
so it's like the data, and then when we know and we try it, maybe that way again. And I would just love it. I didn't prep you for this one, but just kind of as we wrap up, like with you and as a mom with your kids, some of these secrets of being a super mom. How can we start to teach our kids some of these same lessons in an
Yeah.
appropriate way? And are there any where you're like, oh, wow, that was actually really helpful in my parenting to be
Yeah.
able to teach my kids this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the things that we talked about today are things that we can help our kids with, right? Understanding what balance looks like. So I have one child that would literally do everything. She is so me, right? She would fill every minute with stuff that she wants to do. She's like, oh, but if it would only take us 10 minutes to drive there, so I could do three activities tonight, right? So she's the one that loves a lot of things and wants to pack a lot of things in. I have other children that would much prefer space, right? So, not my personality, but would much prefer space. And as we start to plan and schedule out activities, we have to talk about, okay, well, that would mean that you're busy 4 nights a week. Do you want to come home from school and do homework right away and do something 4 nights a week? Okay, then maybe let's talk about how to do that. We have a digital calendar that we have in our my husband created this digital big screen that's got our digital calendar on it. It pulls it in and it's in our kitchen, and we've used it for years now. But they get to see what our calendar looks like as a family. Oh, okay, we've got a baseball tournament and it's on the other side of town. Probably we're not going to be able to go to all the birthday parties on this side of town unless we split up, right? So they're able to see how the family impacts each other and how they impact each other, as well as what their schedules look like individually and how they can better plan and feel during that. So I think just all of those things are so powerful as they get older and they have to start planning their own things and their own school projects and their own work schedules and activities. And so I just think that it's some really good skill sets that we in tiny ways can teach the little ones, and then they just grow as they get bigger.
Yeah, I'm taking notes since my my kids are 7 and almost 9, and I think they're starting to have more awareness
Mhm.
of like how the day flows and the management of time and kind of that buffer that you were talking about. And like, well, this is why we're just going to I learned the other day I can't say play date anymore. I have to say hang. Okay. So my first grader was like, Mom, it's not a play date. Well, okay. Anyway, just like,
Hilarious.
yeah, I'm like, okay, well, we can't have play dates every single day after school because remember, you have basketball. And on Fridays, we have pizza and movies as a family. And oh, right, so I might have to think about doing that kind of visually because I think that that will help too. Because when they become more aware of, oh, right, that is on the other side of town, or oh, look at these different things going on, then that helps you as a family unit and culture as you're
Yeah.
being able to implement some of these things. So I'm taking notes for eventually, God help me, when they start driving.
It's wild times. We're in a permit stage right now. So it's driving teaching and wow, it's a doozy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, it has just been so fun talking about the book. I will link it in the show notes. It is fantastic, actionable, encouraging, trying to think of all the other positive adjectives. It really was fantastic. And I would love it if you could tell us about the upcoming Supermom Summer Camp. So fun
Super
that
Mom
you're
Summer Camp.
hosting, how people can register, just anything you want to tell us about it. Go ahead.
Yes. So we will put the link to Emily's link in the show notes, but We are super excited this year. So for 4 years, this will be the fourth year, we have run the Supermom Summit. And it is women coming together and learning productivity skills, learning about balance and what they can actually do to feel that balance, not to, have some sort of perfect schedule of balance, but learning those tips and those tricks that other women use. We've come together, we've got live sessions, we've got pre-recorded sessions, and it's just the most fun week in June. And so this year, we've tweaked it just a little bit. So you get all the fun stuff that you got before, but we're calling it Supermom Summer Camp. And we're really leaning into the theme. So there are adventure trails you can follow. You can earn badges. You get to hang out with camp counselors. There are going to be campfire chats and all sorts of other really fun things. And I'm excited every year. I get wildly excited about it every year, but I think I'm the most excited this year so far. I just cannot wait.
And I will bring the virtual s'mores.
That's right.
Because
I
you
love it.
can't have the campfire without the virtual s'mores.
That's right. Emily's one of our camp counselors. If you didn't catch that, she's there teaching us all how to do all the things, right? Stay organized and
Yeah.
keep out of overwhelm. That's our
Oh
goal.
my gosh. Yes, yes. So everything will be in the show notes. I really hope that you can join us, and it's something that I'm really looking forward to. So thank you, Lori, so much for coming on the show and pouring into my audience, and just really appreciate you and your time.
I so appreciate you.
Hey Mama, thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, could you please share this episode with another mom who is feeling overwhelmed? Also, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a 5-star written review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Finally, if you would like more support, come on over to our free Facebook group, tinyurl.com/moms overcoming overwhelm. Can't wait to connect with you soon.